Today we are at George Washington's Ferry Farm and we're going to be talking to John Jeans about roofing. All right, now who did the work?
So the roofing work was done by Peter Post, who is a very experienced historic shingler. In fact, there are very few people alive who can do some of the details that he has done both here and on previous jobs around historic sites throughout Virginia.
How long did that take?
He was here for about 3 months. It's a very time-consuming process, particularly when you're working around dormers and you're doing swept valleys and having to work with very intricate detailing.
Now tell me what the shingles are made from.
So the shingles are made from Alaskan yellow cypress, and I have a sample of one right here. Quite beautiful wood, about 3/4 inch thick at the face, and then it tapers down to a little bit strong 1/8 inch here. And notice that the end of the shingle is scalloped. When it was purchased, it was rectangular, and Peter Post and his crew scalloped every one of these shingles, somewhere around 22,000 shingles.
Wow. Now we've got a reconstructed 18th century house. Were the construction techniques that were used also 18th century?
Very much so. Peter Post followed very closely the methods of the period. The material, the cypress, is an appropriate shingle. The scalloped ends are appropriate for the period. The swept valleys, very appropriate, and the random widths as well.
So can you take me up on the scaffolding and give me a closer look at the roof?
You know, I think we should.
Boy, that is really
Pretty. It's just artwork.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me about these swept valleys.
Well, there are swept valleys on each of the 4 dormers. This is where the plane of one roof meets the plane of another roof. The plane of the dormer, notice right here, you have this plane of the dormer, and then it has to meet this plane of the main block of the roof. And if you look very closely, you can see the base of the shingle is more narrow than the top.
Right.
And so every one of those shingles is hand sculpted to fit perfectly in here.
Oh, wow.
And it's really, the craftsmanship is art.
It's beautiful. Now, I noticed, John, that there's an interesting overlap like this, right where, at the peak of the roof. What is that?
Mara, at the peak of the dormers and the main block, one shingle goes over top of the other about 2.25 inches, and it's called a comb. And it's set that way based on where the prevailing winds are typically coming from. During the construction process, we noticed most of our winds were coming upriver and then coming up the hillside. So our comb is on this side of the dormer, on the south side, and it's on the west side of the main block.
Oh, it's a science.
Yeah, very much so. They're doing everything they can to prevent water infiltration, even in the early days.
That's excellent.